Good morning and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I'm going to be discussing the bug that plagued the community yesterday. I decided to wait because I'd like to wait to see actual fixes, compensation, but since we aren't seeing compensation until next week, I decided now is probably a good time for me to jump in since the fixes are actually live, and this is the final update for the bugs, etc. But we'll probably get one more update that will include the compensation and their thought process behind the compensation they chose. But we'll see that when that happens. So this might be a longer video and it's going to be a lot of talking, so I'll do what I can to segment it and put lots of timestamps in the description below. And the first timestamp is going to be what happened. So maybe you didn't play for a day and you're like, hey, the community's up in flames, what happened? Or maybe you only logged in for a little bit and it didn't really affect you because maybe you were sleeping. Let me catch you up. So essentially across the game in all fights, you started the fight, whether or not you won or lost the fight, it treated it as if you disconnected mid-fight. And so just kind of speaking from more of a technical background, my guess is that they were probably having data resolve issues where essentially our phones weren't communicating with the server. So there was probably some kind of coding or data implementation or update implementation that was causing this block of data transference from our phones to the server. So the reason you were able to start the fight is because your game's up to date, right? The server's communicating to our phones. It's telling our phones, hey, this is the fight setup, the nodes layout, right? And then your phone's trying to connect to the server and say, hey, I pushed this fight, and there's some kind of interference. And that interference occurs right when you are finishing your fight, and that would cause it to be pretty much let you complete the fight, but it wouldn't let you register the fight as actually having been won. This is something a lot of people see when they are essentially running on sketchy internet, right? We're used to this. Oh, I did a fight, I did it to completion, my internet signal dropped out and the fight didn't count. That's essentially what's happening here, but on a mass scale, which means it's some kind of coding error. So that's what the issue was, right? But let's talk about the actual update and what's going on now. So this is a second description timestamp for the update. So let me prelude this with saying for a lot of players, this update, this fix is an actual update. So if you're still playing and you're like, hey, I'm still having the same problems, can't even get AQ to work, go ahead and check your app store and make sure that you've updated your game because not for everybody will this automatically update or fix. So go ahead and give that a go. And if it's still not working, go ahead and jump on the forums or something. Let me know and maybe I can make some comments on your behalf. That we're still having issues in the game, but for the most part, from what I hear, the game is actually better, albeit except for Arena. So I have to go test Arena momentarily. That said, let me put another description. Nope, sorry, I'll continue with the update here. So the update is that the issues surrounding repeated fights and arena rounds not being registering has been resolved, and issues regarding claiming rewards still remains. So if you're trying to collect the objective rewards, that still isn't working properly. So be mindful of that. They are looking to resolve it. Compensation conversations will commence soon. This is essentially, hey, it's the weekend, and thank you all for your patience, etc. And then the update itself is that they've pushed for a fix that many of us, for the bug that most of us encountered today. They're confident this fixed the issues, so if it didn't, please let them know because that data is incredibly important. They know that they have outstanding issues to look into, like the inability to claim rewards, but they are working on that and they will continue working on that over the weekend, and they want to let us know that those rewards are not lost. We will be able to claim them, so that's pleasant. They also know that we have knock-on issues. I'm not familiar with this phrase, but I'm guessing this is one at a time kind of issues or something similar to that. But essentially, it's people who've missed out on war due to being unable to enlist or were unenlisted. People were not able to complete alliance quests due to the downtime and missing out on arena times, etc. So we can understand that just by mentioning this, that they are aware of those issues and that we should expect some form of compensation in relation to that. And then with these fixes in place, they acknowledge that the compensation conversations will begin. We'll probably won't see this until next week. It's probably going to be a really long discussion between, covering all of their bases. They even say this is a system-wide issue and they want to make sure they cover every area of the game. And believe it or not, this isn't an easy fix. It's very easy for developers for people who run the game behind the scenes to be tempted by like overcompensation early on. And a lot of players will say overcompensation is good, overcompensation is bad, right? Because all it does is push the bar, right? The next time the compensation gets higher and higher and higher. And you really want the compensation to be fair, adequate, and not too much. And I know that's weird coming from a player, but that's just my perspective. Finally, with the update, we will take care to ensure that they make the situation right. You know, this is essentially their nice statement. This is very well written. I will have a post to this. I will have a link to this forum in the description below. But next up, I want to talk about player attitude. And I'm going to talk about player attitude before compensation, because I think player attitude is incredibly more important. And player attitude is one of the reasons why I didn't comment on this until now. So, you know, and everybody's different. And with every single game I've ever played, the community is always incredibly widespread. You're going to have your people who are like, okay, well, it's whatever, I'll go to the bar. Or you've got your people who are, you know, are like me and they're hardcore gamers, and like this was their Friday night. They wanted to play Arena, watch some anime, and not being able to do that totally throws them off their balance, and, you know, it can be enraging. And for some people, you know, it's just a matter of, hey, it's a game, whatever. Like, I understand the opinions are different, but I think that the general attitude for how we respond to Kabam is incredibly important to be discussed, because Kabam Mike, bear in mind, I mean, I think he was posting around like 4 p.m. or something, 4 or 5 p.m. about like, hey, let's just chat. This is a post at 5 in the morning. That means Kabam Mike has been up, or at least been intermittently up, for 12 hours. Because this man was posting late into the evening last night, and maybe he slept for 4 or 5 hours, but he definitely did not get a full 8. So you got to really give this guy props. Like, he was, you know, actively awake and with the community for this, and responding, and did a nice little let's chat, you know, talking with people, you know, for people who want to be into Marvel, and, you know, if they can't play the game right now, you know, at least wanted to be talking about it. So I understand. Absolutely wonderful guy. That said, a lot of people actively went to the effort to post incredibly toxic, incredibly negative things. And, you know, if you're one of those people, you know, I just really encourage you to reflect on that. And don't get me wrong, I rage. I'm a gamer. I understand. Gamer rage is a real thing. It happens. But the difference between taking that rage and screaming into a pillow, and taking that rage and going to the effort of actually typing a, you know, toxic remark to Kabam Mike, and like targeting Kabam Mike too, is really the level of need, right? It's one thing to rage and do that in your own isolation, and not be impacting anyone else, right? You get your frustrations out, venting is important. It's another thing to rage and bring that toxicity and introduce it to the community. It's really negative. It's harmful. It has this huge impact, and in the end, it's not actually helping anyone, right? Constructive rage is in the form of, hey, this affected Alliance Quest, this affected Alliance War, maybe list all the problems it could be, and just saying, I really would appreciate it if Kabam addressed all of these issues, right? Helping like contribute to, hey, these are the issues I have a problem with, but I'm not trying to be toxic, I'm just trying to show you, hey, these are the things I want you to keep account of. And there are good positive ways to do that. I saw a lot of people have really positive ways to do that, and it's just a matter of recognizing that because you have to take the time to put this information out there in the form of text, you have the time to put it out there in the form of text that is respectful and considerate of a human being who is beyond the other side, right? And I think that's something that gets lost between the rage, between how fast people text these days, between the ease of access, and I just wanted to touch on that. I think it's important, and I'm not accusing everybody of it. I know that a lot of people handle this game incredibly responsibly and are very mature about it, but because of the response and the level of hate I saw, I just wanted to be one of the people who comes out here and say, remember that the game developers are humans. Kabam Mike is a human. All the people at Kabam, working and doing all this work to make this awesome game for us, they're humans, and they are not without flaws. Trust me, I you know, no one is without their flaws, and you know, it's okay to point out those issues and point out these problems and complain about them, but keep it respectable, right? Keep it respectful, keep it constructive, and keep that attitude going, because it's actually going to mean a lot for you going forward. And when these things happen, well, you got to roll with it and see where it comes. Next, I'm going to put a timestamp here. Again, sorry for the rant about the attitude, but I do want to say, kind of like as an example for what I did, trust me, I wanted to sit down with my arena grind and watch anime yesterday. Yesterday I actually had a day off, so not being able to push arena for like 12 hours really screwed up my schedule, since I had like 4 hours blocked out for arena grinding. I wanted to make videos. So what did I do? I kept the forum up. I stayed involved. I helped other people out, letting them know what the issues, try to help, people in my alliance, to tell people, to watch out for these problems. But essentially, I did other things because that's all you can do. And I recognize that to save all my frustration and anger, at least as much of it as I can, until I saw compensation, because we could come to compensation, and the compensation could make it all not necessarily worth it, but essentially make it all null and void, right? If the compensation is to the level that no one is frustrated anymore, then I think it was well done. So I'll put a timestamp in the description here for talking about the consequences. So the consequences of this bug are pretty well withstanding, and they kind of go hand in hand with compensation. So I'll go over the consequences really quick, and if I'm missing any consequences, let me know. But the consequences I see are, we see people not going to get Alliance War rewards if they joined on the last war cutoff, right? A lot of people are going to miss that. We are going to see Alliance War, people losing wars, people winning wars that they shouldn't have. People not getting that extra war does mean a overall loss in points and an overall loss in rank. We're going to see Alliance Quest this week. Everybody's going to get generally lower rewards because if you didn't finish any maps, that lowers your prestige, and lowered prestige means less points. So that's going to be all around, and not everybody's affected by that. So it's going to totally skew it. We are going to see arena cutoffs changed. We're going to see less ISO, less gold. We're going to see energy costs, right? People spent energy and people spent potions, revives, etc. on the game. And then, time. Time is something that needs to be acknowledged. A lot of people like to play this game in their free time, and losing that as an opportunity is something that needs to be compensated for. So that said, let me put another timestamp here. The compensation I think the community deserves, the compensation I think is needed to at least be acknowledged, and kind of like wipe the slate clean. And if you disagree with me on this, feel free to please just respectfully in the comments say, hey, your compensations were this, or I didn't like this part about your compensations. This is what I think needed to be. And bear in mind that I'm trying to do compensations I think that are actually like reasonable to expect from Kabam, and we probably still won't get them. But hey, let's give them the benefit of the doubt for now. So that said, I think they should expand the Alliance War rewards one tier. So essentially, expand all of the tiers one tier bigger, so that everybody that was affected in Alliance War, may have lost or are missing that extra one war, is going to be moved one reward up. Now, this is generally going to be a inflation for the community, because not everybody's affected by it, but essentially, if you were brought down, you're going to be brought up a peg, and that means that everybody's just getting better rewards this season. And yeah, that seems like a pretty hefty compensation. I just think it's necessary, and that doesn't affect the top teams. I know that the people in the top tier don't get affected by that, and that's maybe frustrating for them, but that's just where my opinion stands. Maybe like those top team rewards can be increased a little bit this season, just to kind of acknowledge that, hey, those top teams aren't getting what they deserve, because there's no like expansion route for them, and then that way everybody gets better rewards, and it's just a good time overall. And not everybody likes inflation rewards. They want targeted rewards. It's just in a game like this, you need kind of like generalized fixes to make the game better, because it's just tough to get in kind of targeted rewards. So that addresses Alliance War. Next up, someone mentioned on the forums, and I really like this, is dish out Alliance Quest rewards based on last week's performance. I'm actually going to go one step further and say not only give us Alliance Quest rewards based on last week's performance, even if it's like pro-rated, like 2 days worth, like multiply it by 40%, etc. But let us finish out this Alliance Quest. This Alliance Quest could be a bonus Alliance Quest. And yes, that's a lot of rewards, and that's a lot of good stuff for a lot of players. But again, I think in the grand scheme of things, it will be, if everybody sees this Alliance Quest week as a bonus day, then the struggles we're having with it won't be as frustrating. Some people will still be frustrated, and that's the problem, is that there's no level of compensation that's going to make people feel like they were accommodated for their time. So dishing out Alliance Quest awards based on last week kind of acknowledge this is a bonus week, and it's a good time. Otherwise, what they need to do is make it so everybody's maps counted as completed, increase our prestige, and boost the rewards, or like maybe drop the tiers down again like in Alliance War. But that's a lot of math, and I think that one could be fixed with just kind of like a standard shotgun compensation trigger. Next up is that I think they need to move the Alliance War cutoff point back one war. So essentially give everybody one free war upon joining a new alliance, because you do want those players to be kind of acknowledged that, hey, you should deserve Alliance War season rewards. You also don't want to kind of like move any room for like kicking people on the last day and bringing people in. So you still want to have that like semi cutoff point. And I don't think moving it back, like the cutoff point back a little bit, is too complicated in coding, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Next up, I think we need 2 Alliance Quest team revives, because people did use revives on this, and I understand that people probably used more revives than that. But the truth is that this was a withstanding issue, and if you're one of those people who's like ramming your head into the same problem over and over again, maybe you should readdress your avenues for like looking into bugs, etc., because we all know the game is buggy. So 2 is about the level where I'm like, okay, this is a reasonable amount. 5 Alliance Quest potions, preferably level 3, because we probably won't see level 4. 3 level 3 revives. So I want specific revives for questing, because team revives, while more valuable, I feel like a lot of people would have figured it out after at least 3 revives, and that should actually kind of be like an overcompensation just to kind of acknowledge. 10 health potions, because potions are probably more consumed in this regard, as people were losing 50% of their health and then continuously refighting. 3 energy refills, just to acknowledge the amount of energy we lost because we couldn't use it in the contest yesterday. 500 units. 500 units is a little bit overcompensatory, but that's also accounting based on luck, based on how your arena crystals openings go, because sometimes people have just some crazy luck. I mean, I was one of those people yesterday. But 500 units is essentially what we could have been grinding, right? That's why I grind arena. That's why most people grind arena, is for the units. And that is, it's a pretty good chunk of units. I think 300 to 400 units is more accurate, but you never know. Some people push all their units in Friday, and you really need to like average out between the both. So maybe 500 units is a little bit much. Maybe it's closer to 300, but I think a good amount of units needs to be rewarded, because we as players weren't able to grind for them yesterday, and now we're pushing it to Saturday, and we lose the arena day on Sunday. Or open up this 3-day arena grind into Sunday as well, so then we can at least get that extra day to grind and get those get those resources that way. I think an amount of gold, I'm not really sure how much, maybe 40,000, 50,000. It really doesn't need to be a lot, just an amount of gold, acknowledging that, hey, you do get gold. And then finally, 5 premium hero crystals, 3 3-star crystals, 1 4-star crystal, and half a 5-star crystal. And I think that a lot of people are going to say we deserve a full 5-star crystal, and I understand a full 5-star crystal is probably worth it for Cavalier players. Cavalier players especially need those more. But I think that, again, when you're looking at generalized rewards, you need rewards that address the community as a whole. And so this is like a kind of a good middle ground, I think. Plus, the truth is, if you're grinding the arena, you're not getting a full 5-star crystal in one day. Like, you really aren't. And in the game, in the general content of pushing the content in one day, you're not getting a full 5-star crystal on average a day. So half a crystal kind of acknowledges, hey, this is more than what you would get in a day, but that is well deserved, and a half a crystal is still a pretty good sum. So that said, those are my thoughts on the consequences, the compensation, etc. And that's the end of the video, folks. I will do what I can to segment this into timestamps, I promise. If you disagree with me, I'm happy to discuss, as long as you keep it respectable. And I will talk to you all later.